center field, way back.
The coffin on this one for the Buckeyes. Woo! Gotta get much tighter contest on that type of range. He certainly did. Whoa, little ball throw on the hit there.
Good morning, world, and welcome back to yet another fun-filled episode here this morning with us on the Early Morning Sports Talk podcast. As we embark upon what will be another great episode this morning. And so, yes, world, we are back like a shark attack, back like we left something, back like we ain't got no clothes, and I repeat, no clothes on our back. And for the world on this morning, at this hour, at this time, is a better place when the Early Morning Sports Talk podcast is taking place. Again, I repeat it, for the world is a better place when the Early Morning Sports Talk podcast is taking place. And so thank you for tuning in with us this morning as we conversate about the latest sports topics that have taken place from this past week and will be upcoming this week. It is always a blast to have you all tune in to participate with us every weekend. As a reminder that every week we always like to begin our podcast by reminding our audience that the Early Morning Sports Talk podcast can be found on Facebook via the Early Morning Sports Talk podcast community page, on Instagram, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify as the Early Morning Sports Talk podcast, as well as our own Facebook pages via Brandon Price, Jamar Goodman, Peoples Hernandez, as well as our guests for that weekend. Today is May 25th of 2024. We have seen yet again another fascinating week in the sports world, in which we watched the Boston Celtics go up 2-0 in the Eastern Conference Final Series after the Indiana Pacers blew what was a great opportunity in Game 1, a simple inbounds and a few free throws that were missed could have led to this series being 1-1. Now it's 2-0, and it seems like Indiana has a high hill to climb. But then again, there's maybe not too much concern because Indiana has been in a hole in the previous series. And so very well possible Indiana Pacers fans that we know, Jamar, being that we are former Purdue Boilermakers, they are very optimistic because the series is now transitioning to Indianapolis. On the other hand, Luka Doncic, did people forget who he was? Did people forget who Kyrie Irving was? Now we see the Dallas Mavericks in very stunning fashion last night continue to battle the Minnesota Timberwolves, who were very desperate to get game 2, in which Luka Doncic, he eyed, as we say in the streets, he eyed Rudy Gobert and put the Dallas Mavericks up 2-0 in this series with the commanding lead. What makes it commanding, sports fans, is that they are heading back to Dallas now. And so it was a question that was asked, Jamar, last week. Would Luka Doncic win a championship? And so it's looking like at this moment that Luka Doncic has a very good chance to probably go to the NBA Finals. On the other hand, we saw Caitlin Clark last night get her first win. And we saw Angel Reese in the Chicago Sky shock the New York Liberty. As I told Jamar and I told various people, I believe the Chicago Sky team will be a very good team because of their defensive identity. And as we know in sports, any team that has an identity tend to be a team that has success because they know who they are. And lastly, we saw the NCAA approve payments finally. Thank you, Northwestern. Thank you, Stanford, all these schools that have fought for years to get payments for college athletes because truly, with the NIL deal stuff and things like that, you got to create competition. As we know in business, that's how it works. And so thanks to the NIL now, we see college athletes getting paid, and we'll be very interested to see the amounts that they'll receive from these respective universities. And so with that being said, introducing my brother from another mother and one of my partners here on the Early Morning Sports Talk podcast, Mr. Jamar Goodman. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Man, Brandon, I've Man, it's been interesting, I would say 14 hours uh in the sports world, man. But let's get into it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's very interesting. Yes. Good morning. Good morning, Dwayne. Good morning, my brother. How are you? Yes, chop it up with us. And we don't have our brother Ian with us. He's getting to the bag. But we likely should have our brother Jake check in with us. There's Ian right there. Yes, sir. There we go. And so
Yo, can
additional
you guys hear me?
introducing our other partner here on the Early Morning Sports Talk podcast and our other brother from another mother, Mr. Ian Jones, aka Rod Tillway, aka Peoples Hernandez. Mr. Ian Jones, my bro, what it do?
Hey, how y'all doing? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir. Your volume's great, man. We good, bro. I'm good. Yes, I'm great.
Good, I'm
Thank you.
good.
Thank you for asking, my brother. Appreciate it. And so, with that being said, fellas, let us get into our conversation. And so, we'll begin with talking about the NBA playoffs. And so, Jamar, you began us, and then from there we follow up with Ian. And so, Jamar, bro, for the NBA playoffs, let's start with the Boston Celtics Indiana Pacers series. Any thoughts from this series? Is it a surprise? Any thoughts from game one, game two? Give me your thoughts, bro.
Oh man, that series right there. I guess if you look on surface, you just look at the results of it. It's kind of going, like it's supposed to. As in Boston, Boston is the superior team, and they're supposed to handle business at home. But if we peel the layers back here, especially in game one, man, that was a heartbreaking loss for the Pacers. As in the Pacers should have won that game. Pacers
Yeah.
had the game. And that's where, in those crucial moments, where experience comes into play and or the lack thereof. And you saw that with especially Tyrese Halliburton with the unforced turnovers and bad decision making and just not finishing the game and just mental cues on inbound passes and stuff like that. And Boston, who's been there, done that plenty of times, several years now, um, you know, took advantage of those crucial moments, willed out a game that definitely should have been had by the Pacers. We should be sitting here with them 1-1 heading into tonight's game. So, I
Right.
mean, but it is what it is. But I guess, as far as Indiana standpoint, I mean, they are undefeated at home in the whole playoffs. So,
That's a good stat.
I mean, we've seen series at this point where teams go up 2-0 and by the time game 5 comes around, it's
New York
like,
Knicks.
yeah. And it's like we right back where we started. So, nevertheless, the Pacers, I feel like they still have, a puncher's chance to, really make this series interesting. Um, it's just more so, can they execute when they need to? Can they stop the unforced errors, the mental cues? Can they grow up per se in these moments? Can Tyrese Halliburton be that all-star caliber player on every single possession, as he's pretty much been the whole year? Pascal Siakam has been excellent for them in these playoffs because he's been there before. He's actually accomplished something that I don't think anybody on the Celtics has accomplished yet. So I mean,
Well, no, Drew Holiday.
oh well, yeah. Besides Drew Holiday, but
Yeah.
yeah, nevertheless, it's like they have to grow up. They have to, play great basketball when it matters most. So, like I said, they're undefeated at home. We'll see what happens tonight. Tonight would be a very, very good indicator how the rest of the series may play out.
Yeah. 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 For sure, man. Ian, bro, good morning. What's your
Good
thoughts
morning.
on this series?
Um, Heartbreaking loss in game one. You got to get those, and in situations like that. But I mean, you can clearly see it's a big difference from playoff experience. So now they go back home. So they got a chance to, get these two at home and kind of even up the series. But I mean, it's gonna be tough because Boston is a good road team, so it's definitely gonna be tough. If you're gonna beat them, you got to beat them at home. I think everybody know that. That's kind of been their MO for the last couple of years. So it's gonna be tough, but it's possible they can, tie the series up and make it interesting. But you hope not to see the brooms come out, but I don't think so. But it's very possible though.
Yeah, it's
With
kind of
them
looking
being
like
so
it.
with them being so inexperienced around this time in the playoffs. So, but they still got a chance. So we'll see what happens.
Right. True. To read the comments, is Porzingis coming back? If so, they're really cooked. The Pacers' advantage is that he's out. This is true. But Boston they appear to be that good, right? They appear to
Yep.
be that good, Victor. You begin to really see really what Jaylen Brown is there for. Jaylen Brown was paid for these moments, fellas. Game 2, drop 40. He's coming to play. And Jaylen Brown, we don't care. None of us, me, you, Ian, Victor, Jake, whoever else is watching, Dwayne, whoever. We don't care about Jaylen Brown getting 40 points in the second round. We want to see him do it when it matters. And so Eastern Conference Finals, NBA Finals, he's the highest paid player in the NBA, everybody. And so Jaylen Brown has some pressure on him as well to perform outside of course, Jason Tatum, who really hasn't had his best game yet. We all know he hasn't had his best game yet, but he doesn't have to, Jamar, when Derek White is out here looking like he should be a high max player. The man is killing. The man is killing defensively. He is killing offensively. And then on top of that, you got Drew Holiday. The execution by the Boston Celtics, when we talk about an experience, was beautiful, fellas, on that inbounds play. Now, Victor, as a Pacers fan, I told you the other day that he should have called a timeout. I was screaming at the TV. Sorry, my computer, since I'm overseas. I'm screaming at Rick, call a timeout. However, he threw the pass, and the experience of the Celtics, as you mentioned, Jamar, they set him up and bait him like a fish, put him right where they wanted him to. Everything went exactly as planned, and they set him up in the bait like a fish. He threw the pass, didn't call the timeout, came back to hunt him. And then on top of that defensive sequence of the Pacers, fellas, Indiana, y'all, they were ranked 24th in defensive efficiency the entire season. Jamar, and we know habits catch up with you in the playoffs. Habits.
Yeah.
If you're not good on defense when it matters most, those little inefficiencies will come back to haunt you. And so Victor Young, Pacers terrible on defense. They always give about 40 to 50 to even Brown or Tatum, but they can't let people like you right, Victor. They can't. But when Derek White is scoring 20, putting up 30 game 1, it hurts because then the others, they're gonna do their thing naturally. Jason Tatum gonna give you 25, and that's a bad night for him. He didn't call it because he wanted a shot if they made the shot. Yeah. And so when Jaylen Brown doing what he did game 1, we got to give him kudos because when it matters most, this man tends to show up. And that's what I care about Jaylen Brown for at this point. I don't care about him scoring 40 points game round 1 against the Hornets. I want to see him score in the Eastern Conference Finals. I want to see him score against Miami, goddammit, who are they nemesis still, in my opinion. They still got to beat Miami one of these years and blow them out with Jimmy Butler, in my opinion.
Yep.
But now you got the Eastern Conference Finals and Jaylen Brown showing up. It's going to be very interesting, Jamar, like you mentioned, bro, when they go to Indianapolis to see how they respond. Indiana has to get off to a fast start. We all know this. They got to get out to a track meet. They got to get to an early lead because if they keep that thing close with the clutch players of the Boston Celtics, that's the part. And Jamar, I want to point this out, fellas. Just as basketball and playoff people who been watching this game all our lives, the playoffs is about possessions. who executes better on their possessions and who can continue to have a groove. It's like a rhythm. It's like, for instance, and you hit a jump shot, and then you like, all right, I hit that shot and went in the basket. I want to get another one. I want to get another one. When you have a good series with the Celtics, do y'all ever notice this is where Jalen Tatum is lethal, Jamar? He don't really kill in the early moments. But for instance, if they score a basket and they go up 5 points, you ever notice they keep feeding Jason? And then he hit a three. And then he come back, they come right back down. He hit a three. And that's how they get you. They get you in like a net. They get you in a trap. And you miss a shot here and there. And they come down and they remind me of the 08 Celtics so much. When they come down, they defensively, and people sleep on Boston defensively. They really are sleep on this team defensively. But when they come down, they'll score a basket, and they come down, and Jason Tatum got the ball in his hand, or Jaylen Brown intentionally, and then they come and they go for kill shots. They go for kill shots. They go for kill shots, and before you know it, they up, and they up 10, and it's a flurry. It hits you really fast. And so that's what I observed from Boston, and they do it so well. And I want to give Coach Mazzulla credit too. We were really questioning y'all if he were going to be that coach after what happened with Ime Udoka smashing the cheeks of a Boston Celtics employee. But then we look up now, and Joe Mazzulla is the coach. I just want to say that to make y'all laugh. And he's a winning coach with a winning culture. And his experience, Jamar, actually is coming. Last year in the Eastern Conference Finals, it wasn't there. Remember, fellas? Against Eric Spoelstra, it was not there. But this year, it's like maybe he learned some things, possibly. You know what I'm saying? And so these are my thoughts from the series. Me and Carlisle knew they would make the shot. Indiana stinks on D, so he held the timeout for another shot to win the game. Okay, Victor. Okay. I can see that. I can see that. And so, yeah, fellas, any more thoughts from the Pacers and Celtics? We all still got Boston?
I mean,
yeah.
I came into the series rolling the dice on Indiana, but I don't know. I like I said, they're undefeated at home, so I can't count them out just yet. But boy, they gotta, like you said, they gotta start out fast next game. They just gotta come with it. They cannot be messing around tonight whatsoever. And then real quick about game one. They want to, like Carlisle wanted to hold the timeout, but I mean, I'd rather for them to call the timeout and not get an unforced turnover and have a chance to go up 4 or 5 because they was already up 3 at that moment. And then and then when they did have a chance to win the game in regulation, it's like Halliburton had an open opportunity at the top of the key and kept dribbling. To a worse shot. I'm sitting here like, what are you doing?
Man, bro, I was sitting there thinking the same thing. I'm like, why didn't he just attack? Ugh. Like, why didn't he just attack? That was literally my thought, Jamal. I'm like, why didn't he just attack on that part? But you know, sometimes because in basketball, right, in any sport, you want to try to make the easiest possible outcome. And sometimes the habits, like you mentioned, Jamar, inexperience, he out there dribbling, dancing, you know, that 3-point line, and the defensive efficiency of Derek White or whoever was on him. I think it was Derek White or Jason Tatum. No, it was Jaylen Brown sticking him, actually. Like, we got to talk about Boston defensively, too. They got dogs on defense. Look at all these great names. Drew Holiday. Al Horford's been a nice defensive guy his whole career, low-key. Jason Tatum, we know, is a lockdown artist. Jaylen Brown, we know about him. Then, of course, Drew Holiday. Pretty good defensively. And so, kind of look at all these areas, you know, bad habits catch up with you, and Indiana ain't been the best defensively, but Jamar, I like that statistic of Indiana being undefeated at home. That's a very tough place to play in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. They are really loud and ruckus in there. And so it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. And so, fellas, if you guys don't mind, let's progress now to a surprise. I don't think any of us had Dallas up 2-0. I had it. I told y'all, as you guys know, I struggled with both series. I struggled hard with both series. But Dallas, I didn't expect them to be up 2-0, but they are, fellas. And so, Jamar, give me your thoughts from this series, and do you still got Minnesota in this one?
Man, Dallas has won both games by a combined of 3 points.
Mm.
That lets you know how, the series has been very entertaining, but this is one of those to where, Luka has, been around the block a couple of times.
Sure has, hasn't he? This ain't no new moment for him.
No, and especially for Kyrie Irving, he's definitely been around the block a few times and came home with something before. So it's like it's crazy to me that and I said this a few times already. Like a year ago, when they made this trade for Kyrie Irving, it's like they couldn't figure it out, but we knew that if they got into a playoffs, that the potential of them making that run because of those two was there. They just couldn't figure it out last year. This year, with them, having more time to play together and them making that trade at the deadline, for Gafford and PJ Washington and all this stuff, it just seemed like all of a sudden it clicked with those two, with Derek Lively, the rookie, and Washington and Worthy and whatever. It's hard. It's bad enough when you have one person that could go get their shot anytime they want, but when you have two, which plays pretty similar on offense to where they can manipulate the pick and roll, because at least in game two, Minnesota made the adjustment, as in instead of going under the screen and getting pick your poison, they actually started blitzing them or hedging.
Yeah.
But not at the right time.
Yeah, and it's like, Dallas, they definitely have that chip on their shoulder. Like Luka wants to get there finally. Kyrie Irving wants to prove he can actually win, without LeBron. Like Jason Kidd as a head coach wants to prove that he can, get it done as a head coach. And it's like all these intangibles, and it's showing like that ferocity is showing. Like Kyrie, like let's just bring it back to Kyrie. Kyrie, like before this series started, like he was averaging only 6 points in the first half in every game in the playoffs. All of a sudden, it's like this man just like awoken and just became Kyrie that we used to seeing. And then even yesterday, he struggled a little bit, but in the fourth quarter, he started hitting these timely threes. Like his clutch factor is like insane. And then lastly, like Luka, like this man is banged up, and I'm sitting here, I'm asking a couple of people, like, is he gonna be able to finish the series? Because how banged up this man is, and he's still out there hooping. Like after the first like couple of plays in the game, you see him grimacing and limping and stuff like that, and he's pushing through. And the fact that he hit the big shots when it mattered, hit like I don't know what Minnesota was thinking to having Gobert out there, but also at the same time, Sammy posted on his status, which is a very valid point. How are you a 4-time defensive player of the year, but also a liability on defense at the same time in certain moments?
Very true. That is very true.
Yeah, so, that length. He long, but he not fast. You know what I'm saying, fellas? He not fast enough for Luka. And this ain't no low post. He got him on the island. That was the difference.
Exactly. So why didn't they either like blitz him?
He should have been in the game. He should have been in the
or
game.
not in the game and had Towns out there.
That's a good point. He probably shouldn't have been in the game.
And
these are
again,
key crucial moments, man. Key crucial moments. And when we really think about it, Indiana, Jamar, and now Minnesota, key crucial moments.
It is. And it's like, how do you, then once again, it comes back to the point, like, how are you a 4-time defensive player of the year? But yeah, in that moment, they probably should have had you on the bench. So it's like,
Yep.
it just makes you wonder. But either way, if they gonna have him in the game, they should have blitzed him. They should have blitzed Luka, got the ball out of his hands. I mean, at worst, if you foul him, he's shooting 2 shots at the free throw as opposed to him doing a step back on Rudy Gobert by himself and hitting the game-winning 3. So yeah, that like good math on that part. And as far as Minnesota, like look, if last series didn't teach us anything, anybody can go 2-0 and we think of the series old, and all of a sudden,
Right.
we having a different ball game. So they still have the opportunity to get this done. It's just for me, it comes down to Anthony Edwards. You have to play better, like all the way around.
Where's
You
he
gotta play
been?
better.
He the one that called out Kyrie, which made Kyrie bust him up first game.
Yeah, he wanted it, and I appreciate the mentality, but you got to follow up. Like you got to make your adjustments. You got to follow up. Like initially at the beginning of the game, like he was attacking the basket. So like, okay, like all right, I see the mentality, but it's like when it's crunch time, when it's like 5 minutes and under in this late fourth quarter, and not to mention they gave up basically a 20-point lead in this game. They gave
Yeah,
that.
they did. Yeah.
They gave up multiple double digits, fellas.
They shouldn't even been in that. They shouldn't even been in that.
Shouldn't even been in that point.
No, because it seemed like that inexperience factor, just like the Pacers and Celtics series, that inexperience factor started to kick in a little bit. And with Luka and Kyrie being around the block so long, they knew how to take advantage of that. Because even when they had that lead and it started to shrink, and I'm sitting here like I'm like calling every player on the on Minnesota stupid. Like, what are you doing? Like, just making bonehead play after bonehead play, just like consecutively. But regardless, at the end of that game, like Anthony Edwards got to make better decisions. It got to be a little bit more assertive.
That shot too, Jamar.
Yes.
Trying to be LeBron. Shoot the damn ball. Be Kobe.
Yeah, get to your spot, make the shot, and don't settle for threes. Just either do the mid range or to attack the basket. If you're wide open, shoot the 3. But you got to be more assertive. You got to put pressure on the defense. Like that's what they was doing in the first quarter. They was applying pressure on that defense, mainly in the first half. That's how they got the lead up. They was getting them in foul trouble. They was shooting a lot more free throws, and then all of a sudden you don't do it. And then at the last possession before Luka, hits the shot, you over here throwing the ball away. Like, bro, like if you don't turn the ball over, you probably win this game. So yeah, that's it. Just mental miscues, and for them to lose both games by a total of 3 points, that lets you know that Minnesota has not played their best ball. They only lost by a total of 3 points, and that there's a higher ceiling to this team that we have yet to see. And we have seen it in the other series. It's just more so, can Anthony Edwards play better? Can Karl-Anthony Towns play better? Can they stop the mental miscues? If so, then, maybe when we come back a week from today, we'll be talking about a different story here.
Possibly. But in Minnesota, man, they got karma that came back to them. They was up 2-0 against Denver. You know what I'm saying? Going back to Minnesota, all the momentum in the world. Now it's like it's the opposite now. Dallas came in their building and they up 2-0 and they going back to Dallas, bro. What's your thoughts on this series?
Just like Jamar stated, you see the experience take over in those pivotal moments, and also to Minnesota. I think Charles Barkley mentioned it last night. It seems like Anthony Edwards is tired. These last 3 games, he hasn't played great in none of these last 3 games. Game 7, Game 1, and then last night. Like they even showed a clip of him, and they've been showing clips of him, just walking up and down the court, on both sides of the ball. So he might be a little fatigued. He might have hit a wall, playing this late, before in the season. But that, that comes with experience. They haven't been this far before. There's no way they should have gave up a 20-point lead yesterday at home. But Nas Reed, he was on fire last night. He simply kept them in the game, because if he wasn't keeping them in the game, they probably would have lost by like 10. But he kept them in the game, and Rudy Gobert, he's just so trash to me. I just don't understand how he keep winning Defensive Player of the Year.
But low key, fellas, he has 16 and 10, 16, 10 and 3. I mean, I know he
Yeah, but
tried.
he get the 16 and 10 just off being around the basket and he tall. I mean, Brandon, if you was 6'11", you could get 16 and 10 standing around the basket. I mean, that ain't that hard, you know. But
Right.
AE and Cat, they got to step it up. You know, if it was up by 20 and both of them didn't necessarily have a good game last night, and they still only lost by what, 1 point. So I mean, they come to show up last night. They're not even in that predicament. The series is 1-1. Well, they come to show up in the last two games. They up 2-0 probably again. So they superstars got to come to play. The other superstars, they come to play in pivotal moments and they come to play period. So I think that's the difference in the series.
Wow. And it's crazy how we look at the experience from both teams. You know, like, you know, I read the stats here really quickly, fellas. Cat 4-16, 3-pointers, 1 of 5, 15 points. Rudy not so bad, 6 of 10, but as you mentioned, and big guy, 6 of 10 field goals, 4-6 free throws, not bad, for 16, 10, and 2. Anthony Edwards, only 21, and that's the problem for me. That's the problem. Mike Conley, a nice 18. You know, he took a good amount of shots, but he was 50% from the field. And Naz Reid, 23, you know, 8 from 13. Very efficient. Very efficient.
Yeah.
And it was Anthony Edwards, 5 for 7.
8 of 10. I think it was 8 of 10 from 3, I believe.
7 and 9.
Naz Reid. 7 and 9. Okay.
Yeah. And 5. Anthony Edwards is the problem. 5 of 17. Amount of turnovers, good amount. And you know, but Jaden McDaniels too, y'all. He's keeping them too. He was a no-show last night, fellas. Yeah. 2 points. 2 points.
Superstar come up and you got to think about it. They was up 20 at one point. So, you know, the two stars come up to play, they win that game easily. No matter what Luka or Kyrie do, they win that game easily. Because Kyrie didn't even get started until, you know, later in the game. He just made some key shots later in the game.
Yep.
Then, you know, Luka, he had Gobert on the island. He said, "Let's dance," and they danced.
Put him in a blender. Yeah, that turned out to be the difference, man. And sometimes the superstar got to know when to take over. Luka knew when to take over. Anthony, on the other hand, was very hesitant. Boom.
Yep. Very hesitant.
Right there.
These last couple games, he's been very hesitant.
Mm-hmm. And when you get to these crucial moments, fellas, habits will catch up with you. Good habits, bad. Dallas is they're used to knowing that with no problem, Luka's going to take it ain't no question at all. On the other hand, Minnesota, sometimes it depends, you know. Sometimes they can pass the ball to Cat if he wide open for a 3, or sometimes if Anthony, he open, he'll take it. But, you know, he was looking to shed a wealth. He was looking to be a LeBron last night, I guess. Cat need to get some dog in him. He way too soft and has a major advantage. That's a good point too, Victor. He could bring his big butt down in the basket some more and get some easier buckets. That's a good point.
But he's not though. I mean, Carl been in this league 9 years, and Jimmy couldn't get it out of him. At this point, you are who you are. Cat is a sensational, talented player, but I'd be looking. I was telling my wife, who she don't know really too much anything about basketball. We was watching game 1. I'm like, this is like the goofiest, best player I've seen, because he just do some of the most rambunctious, flamboyant things out here that makes zero sense, but the ball goes in. And it's like, if this dude just actually, I feel like he looks lost out there when he plays, but he just, or he's good at basketball, but he's bored. It don't even look like he's locked in out there a lot of times. But if he could just lock in, and stop doing stupid stuff, those silly fouls. He always had these silly fouls. Like, why are you on the perimeter guard Kyrie every 30 feet from the basket and trying to draw? Like, what are you doing?
Right.
Like, he just needs to lock in. Like, somebody needs to slap him on the back of his head and like, dude, just play
Wake
ball.
up. Right.
Like something,
Right.
bro. It don't make no sense. If he locks in, it's the dynamic of this team changes. And that's facts.
Because we forget how he's a big guy. He's a big guy. It's not like he's 5'9". This guy's 7 feet, y'all. Like,
Yeah.
he could easily take that ball inside and but he stated, y'all, proud that he's the best big shooting man of all time. That's what he stated. But we had to talk about that because remember I got excited about TNT that time, y'all. It was like he the best shooting man out there. But I forgot about Dirk and stuff. And so y'all remember that conversation.
Man, Cats, I'm calling him the big goof.
And so yeah, man, the big goof Jamar, he got to show up, and Anthony got to know when to shoot that rock, and Jay McDaniels, he got to show up, and has been very
inefficient. I have a
but no. I was
last
going to
three
say
games.
really quickly, and that Ant has been stating for every win. He stated that Jaden McDaniels is important for that team. Like he stated at the end of game one, the reporters asked him what happened. He's like, Jaden McDaniels, he didn't show up, and he key. And I'm like, all right. And so he said that, and after a lot of the games in the Denver series, even in the first round, and so yeah. Go ahead, bro. What was you gonna say?
In these last three games, he shot 29.8%. And in those games, he is 17 for 57. It's the worst 3-game span in his career.
Wow. And these are the moments where it count.
Yeah, probably the most pivotal games in his career so far.
Right. These are definitely the most pivotal games in his career. And this is the moments where legacies are made. Legacy ain't made, Anthony, off of beating Denver in the 7-game series. It was the second round. Great. Ulu, wow, woo. Your legacy is made, man. When you get to the finals, you get an NBA title. You get that trophy. And so we'll see, man, what happens with this series. Game 3 is tomorrow. It's an every other day format in these conference finals. And so tonight we got game 3 in Indianapolis. We'll see what happens. And we'll go from there. He's probably not expecting to shoot when he actually does get the ball with Edwards, as Towns averaged 55 shots and making 20 of them. Yeah, he probably not expecting to shoot sometimes. He probably is surprised and look lost out there, like Jamar stated. So, therefore, he's probably not expecting to shoot. And so we'll see how they respond. They have been in the hole before, and we'll see if they can get out. Dallas, on the other hand, looking good and on their way back to Dallas. And shout out to the Dallas sports teams, guys. Dallas Stars in the NHL, okay? They are in the Western Conference Finals, okay, versus the Edmonton Oilers. So shout out to Dallas there. On the other hand, all right, yes, I can agree with I don't know about that, Marcus. I got mixed emotions now. We got to talk about that. That's a really good point. Dallas Stars, all right, fellas. Texas Rangers, y'all remember won the World Series last year.
Yeah.
Texas Rangers won it all. They beat the Houston Astros, who we picked to win the World Series. They ended up making Dusty, my favorite manager all time, retire in a heartbreaking 7-game series in which the Astros controlled that series. But Texas, man, they just kept hitting them little bloopers. Those little bloopers, played great pitching, won the World Series. Texas Rangers World Series champions. And then we look at the Dallas Cowboys, and it just makes you question. Dallas Stars,
the Dallas Cowgirl.
Dallas Mavericks, Western Conference Finals. Texas Rangers, World Series champs. Dallas Cowboys, whooped by the Green Bay Packers, giving up almost 50 points in the wild card round. Just makes you think about
they ain't trying to win, man. Jerry's not trying to win no Super Bowls, man. He more interested in making money and being entertaining.
Trash.
No way you bring Ezekiel Elliott back. I guess
never let
maybe
him go.
I guess maybe he wanted to make up for Ezekiel Elliott's last play, handing off the ball, well, snapping the ball.
Right.
Against the 49ers. What was that, in the conference championship or the division? It was conference.
No, that was division. They ain't been to a conference since.
Nah, bro. This was 2 years ago. Dallas playing San Francisco in the second round. Had a chance to win that game late. Gave him the ball. He got stuffed like a turkey.
This man was playing center.
On that last trick play, whatever they were.
One of the craziest plays ever.
Unnecessary play.
Yeah, it was wild. That was one of the wildest plays. I'm like, what the hell is happening here? I was looking at that play and I'm saying, is this real? Is this really real right now? Is this really happening on my TV screen? Like, I was like, am I being punked? Y'all remember Punk?
Bruh. Ashton Kutcher coming out.
Oh my goodness, man. And so
they should never let Zeke go.
I don't know why they let him go. I thought he was essential to what they did, actually, especially around the goal line. But I guess that's maybe why they bringing him back. He can still get that ball in across the hole, and so
I don't know, Vic, because I remember the Colts had that fake punt formation at one time, and it was just as bad. But I would say the Cowboys one is worse because that's a playoff game. The last
play of the game, and that's what you choose to run. You don't have no other play in these thick playbooks that y'all have. You don't have no other play. They look like some sandlot made up stuff that they just came up on the sideline.
He said sandlot.
So they huddled up and they decided this is the best play that we're gonna run at this moment. This is
the most pivotal moment in the season.
They huddled up and came up with that idea.
They all need to be fired, including Jerry, for allowing them to do it.
Right, and correct me if I'm wrong, fellas, but we are tech guys here. Victor and Jamar, you talking about 2015 when the Colts ran a fake punt versus the Patriots?
Yes.
Back in 2015?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes, fellas, I had to Google the fact, and it went horribly wrong according to how it looks. And so, yeah, I just Googled y'all the worst play in Colts history. And the Colts catastrophe came up.
And that was the first play that came up?
Yep. Colts were trailing the Patriots 27-21 in the third quarter. Fourth down, the Colts attempted a fake punt. However, things went horribly wrong. Say the Colts lined up in an illegal formation, which was declined by the Patriots, brain of Bill Belichick. As a result, New England took over possession in Colts territory. Then the Patriots capitalized on this opportunity and scored a touchdown, ultimately winning the game 34-27. And so, yeah, Coach just say they was going for it all. They just, put it all on the line.
I don't know, man. I feel like I can run better plays on Madden than some of the stuff they do out here, but I don't know.
And Victor, yes, you would know, man, because that's your team. It's like maybe if the Bears run a damn play like that. Bears would never do nothing like that. Bears are so risk averse. Bears would never do nothing like that.
We can't even get in that predicament. So
yeah, we'll just double dunk you to death.
Yeah, that is one of the worst, craziest moments of Bears history. So. Yeah, man. And so, fellas, speaking of, let's talk about another subject, man. Just your quick thoughts, fellas, on the NCAA collegiate athletes finally receiving payments. Man, is this long overdue or what?
Dude, the NCAA is hilarious. I mean, hilarious. Like, let's just put it all in perspective. For decades, college students was not allowed to make any type of money in that shape or fashion with their name, image, or likeness. They was not able to do that. And then all of a sudden, I'm just bringing in real perspective here. All of a sudden, a few years ago, one of the guy named LeVar Ball, then he mentioned like, hey, instead of going to college, let's start this alternative league here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so guys can start, making money and not having to go to college and maybe still go to the pros. And then all
Even
of a
Brandon
sudden,
Jennings.
yeah. And then all of a sudden, the NIL stuff come out and you got like the Ignite and the overtime, all this other alternative
Overtime
league.
elite, overseas elite. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then all of a sudden, like that's when the NCAA was like, you know what, you all can use your name, image, and likeness. Like they started, lose out on these players. And then all of a sudden, this here is like this is about as bona fide as it gets, as the NCAA is all they care about is making money off these players.
Mm-hmm.
Because the fact that you just now like, you know what, we'll pay you. Come to our university. We'll pay you. We'll pay you like a regular employee. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm baffled. I am like
Mm-hmm.
I have this half smile on my face. I don't even know what to say because
Mm-hmm.
it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. I have a lot of thoughts. I'm not gonna go into all of them, but I'm whew. I'm gonna just leave it at that. Whew.
Man, just really quickly, and before you go, my bro, competition, man. As we know in business, fellas, when somebody create a product, right, there'll always
Yep.
be somebody that create a similar product. If we look at Fruity Pebbles, we go to Aldi's, there's Fruity Rice. Okay. If we look at for real, if we look at DiGiorno Pizza at Aldi's, there's a knockoff DiGiorno Pizza. You get my point? Like, there's always going to be a rival. So the NCAA, my point in, bro, is that they could have been ahead of the curve because they were the first mover. We know this in business, Jamar. First movers advantage. They had it and they gave it up like idiots. Anywho, go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, man, it's crazy, to see how things have just changed in the last, man, like 10 years. I remember, back in the day, they couldn't get paid, in college football, even around the time when I attempted to play college football, you couldn't even wear colored gloves. You could only wear gray gloves. Now we come from that to, they're doing different things. You can wear color glove, color socks, it's almost like even with the NFL, I mean, everything was like a no fun league. And now, you're seeing these guys, they getting paid from other sponsorships,
Mm-hmm.
and it's crazy. It's like, I do kind of feel like it can help, because a lot of players, they won't rush to go to the league, but I guess they still will, because I guess it is a different kind of salary when you get to the professional league, especially basketball. But man, you seeing these guys, they buying their mom's houses, and of course you have to be one of the top upper echelon players in college, but to get the top money. But they say these guys buy Range Rovers, they buy Hellcats,
They
and
buying they
they
buying
buy,
condos and big buildings downtown and
yeah,
stuff.
man, they living better than me, and I'm what, 33, and they 21, 20, 19, 22. It's
Mm.
great. They live in these six-figure homes, and they driving these six-figure cars, like, they work at a desk downtown, at the top floor. It's
Right.
crazy. But these schools, they make a lot of money off these kids. So, it's, in a sense, it's well deserved. You look up,
Yeah.
at these universities, especially at these big Power Five universities like
Exactly.
Michigan, or
All these
Ohio
damn money
State,
they got.
or Alabama. Every year it's a new building being made, or a new facility being built, and these facilities are costing 300-400 million, or hell, even some of them billion, with new stadiums
Yeah,
or whatnot.
exactly.
So,
Exactly. Billion.
um, and even buildings, that don't even have nothing to do with athletics, that's being built for the school, which is cool. But these kids that essentially got you that money, that's getting you these TV contracts, they deserve a little slice of the pie too. So, I mean, it's long overdue. you know, it's just long overdue. And I even see EA Sports is now paying, they have a tier of teams that they're paying. They get a salary just, for being on a video game, but then it's going by tiers. However your team finishes. So if your team finishes in the top 10, man, y'all getting close to $1 million. That's insane, man. That's crazy. So I
Wow.
mean, it's deserved. It's deserved, man. It's deserved. It's just been a long time. It's just crazy to see it actually happening, and to see how far these college players coming. They living they living a jazzy life right now, man. It just must be
Right.
not. They were living a good life before, but
Right.
now it's just like they're not gonna get in trouble for it. So now
Right.
it's just they
And,
basically professional athletes.
and for real, fellas, now it cuts the life cycle short of. Remember how Jamar, you might notice somebody that when they started their babies out in junior, right? 5 years old, right? And your daddy probably started you out, right? When you played with the Wolfpack or who you Cal Park, right? And
Yeah.
you started out as a kid and your dad had dreams of you making the NFL one day, right? Like,
Yep.
and we're gonna get to your point, Victor, really shortly, bro. And how literally, Jamar, those kids, you will work hard, keep them focused, saying, boy, you're going to go to the NFL, NBA one day. Remember, it was the NFL, NBA one day. Now, fellas, we just got to get them in the university. We get them to the
Yeah.
university as a superstar athlete, they going to already be a millionaire. They
Yeah.
go to whoever, Purdue, they go to Georgetown, they go to USC, wherever. Texas,
Mm-hmm.
they go to these schools now, they are going to be paid. So it shortens the life cycle now for the families. And so, in a way, I'm happy to see it because the poor will actually get richer and the rich will become poor. The opposite, finally.
Wow.
Now, in a way, yes, the rich will still get richer, but now that pie has to be divided up finally. And that's what people have been asking for. Guys, we all know as sports fans, and we know this, guys, being from Illinois, Northwestern was the head of this. They were the ones starting this out. They were the ones screaming for this Northwestern athletes for years. We
Yeah.
remember, I remember
Almost 10 years
articles
ago.
years ago, right? In years
Yep.
ago from ESPN, Northwestern athletes screaming for athletes to be paid and them giving them a billion brilliant reasons on why this should happen. And the big pockets ignoring them, shut up, no, you're crazy, no, this is not going to happen. But to bring up your point, Victor, it does sucks for schools like Grand Canyon, Chicago State, who is a rival of Grand Canyon. They'll
Yeah.
never see the light of day when it comes to this because they won't be really incentivized. But in a way, no, it could depend because depending on it depends on where these schools will get the athletes from. So like Chicago State fellas, remember they had that lawsuit going with the two twins that were like top rated players in the country.
Yeah.
They got them, Jamar, from overseas elite, bro. What you talking about, that rival league? They didn't get them from. They got them from like a specific league, and then they decided to come, which they'll be there next year. And so that's how that came about. So it's still hope, Victor. It's just that it'll not be what they do, it'll be how they do it. The
Mm-hmm.
opportunity will still be there to get these top athletes. They'll just have to maybe get them from specific leagues, etc. But still, also, they will get NIL deals depending upon who they are. If they're a top-rated athlete, Victor, they'll go to Chicago State if they choose to, and they'll still get an NIL deal because people will want to come to their games. It's business. If they're the top-ranked player in the country and they go to Chicago State, people from Chicago,
Yeah.
you are the top-ranked player in the country. You go
They
to
have
Chicago State.
marketability.
You
They
see what
still
I'm
get paid.
exactly, man. So everybody from Chicago gonna be packed in Chicago State to go see whoever that top player is, because they gonna be paying attention to ESPN, the rankings. Oh, this is the top player. We gonna go see him, whoever that
And that's
person
gonna
might
bring
be.
more money, and that's gonna bring more money to the school.
Exactly. And so it'll depend on not what they do, but how they do it, and it'll depend on their success and things of that nature, how good they are, the situations. So
I do think they should, man. I do think they should apologize to certain players that and kind of ruin their careers, or even like with the Reggie Bush situation, he just got the Heisman back, but you
Mhm.
guys ruin these guys' reputation, based on money or things that people gave them, or even a situation like Maurice Claret. Like I just think a lot of those guys, they were the sacrificial lambs, and I think they deserve an apology and maybe some kind of little stipend. It don't have to be that
Mhm.
big, but I do feel like they need an apology.
Mm. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Reggie Bush finally got the Heisman back, and so when we talk about Victor, Grand Canyon, and some of these small schools, yeah, they probably won't get no TV time, man, because of these deals. Generally, they don't. The only way they will is if you pay attention to a local channel, or if you scream online for YouTube, or if you see them in the NCAA tournament. That's the only way a lot of these schools will get TV time. And so it'll be very interesting to see how these schools continue to be affected. But there's still opportunity there now for all schools, because it'll depend on what fish they get and how big the fish is. And from there, everything else will take care of itself. And so, with that being said, fellas, we done had pretty much our thoughts in. I don't know if you got something for us this morning, bro. You got something for us on the Ends Basement?
Yeah, I do. I do have an interesting conversation that I've been seeing going around. So, what are you guys' thoughts like on this whole Bronny situation? As far as I see a lot of people have um, an issue with him going to the draft, whether he's ready or not, and kind of piggybacking off, you know, with LeBron being his father, and I'm starting to see it kind of be like a trend, it being a problem, kind of like a nepotism type of thing. But I kind of feel like it's always cool when another race does it, but when we do it, even amongst even amongst people like ourselves, I just think why is it a problem when it's cool when other people do it, but when we do it, it's an issue. I mean, I personally don't see the issue whether he's ready or not, or whether he end up not being a good player, or and this is in any profession. And I won't even just say in his situation, but he's kind of the main focus right now. I just don't. I don't get it. I don't see the issue. I wouldn't. I think if any one of us was LeBron, or anybody in his field, or any field, if you was in that situation and you have a chance to, do this, put your kids in the same position, which is a great position, I don't see the issue.
Right.
I mean, what are you guys' thoughts on that?
For me, honestly, I don't see an issue with it either. It's about time. I think our world needs, and our country especially needs, the change. Um, Now it is a bit offensive because it's like, oh, this is just your son, and you're going to draft him, etc. So this situation, I would say, in depends. This is a dependent situation because um, you literally are your franchise is highly affected from this, and you'll have multiple people screaming at you if this doesn't work out well. And so the result here, the risk is really high, fellas. The reward, will it outweigh the risk, is the question here. And so
Yeah,
the
I
risk
mean,
is, you know, Bronny and LeBron coming there, and then after Bron leaves, you probably stuck with Bronny. And Bronny hasn't developed potentially to where he needs to be, but you spent a high draft pick on him, somebody that might have been actually more polished. But then the reward is you could have a playoff run, you could have seats filled, you could have, social media, all these other things, right? You kind of be like a Caitlin Clark, huge following effect. You'll want to follow father and son. It'll be great. Great for TV, everything. And so the reward is high too. Um, and so I personally, I can see the point on both ends. And so I'm kind of in between. I want to see it as a black man. I'm actually happy to see nepotism happen for a change, but at the same time, I can kind of understand like this situation because of if I'm an owner and I'm looking at it from that perspective, then I got to worry about my fans and how they will feel about this. and how that would go along and the effect that it'll have on the franchise going forward, which could really set a franchise back. So it's a high risk being taken here. And so I'm all for Black Power because of who this country has been for years towards African Americans. But at the same time, from an owner's perspective, bro, it's a tough decision. So that's my thoughts. Jamar, bro.
I feel like, excuse me. I mean, it's, I don't know, it's a little complex for me because of the fact that the narrative was created by LeBron stating, he wants to play with his son.
Mhm.
That's the part that probably create like the negative per this, because it just feels like you pretty much stated, where Bronny goes, there's a possibility that LeBron will be right behind him. So therefore it just creates that narrative, as opposed to if LeBron never said any of this at all, and Bronny just did what he wanted to do. If he wanted to come out this year or not, or whatever, I feel like it wouldn't have any negative comments or anything like that. But it's just the narrative was created for something that Bronny didn't even say.
Yeah.
And so now it's like teams are just gonna draft Bronny for LeBron, and not draft Bronny for Bronny.
Yeah.
And you say, stunt the growth or whatever, and it just be a 1 or 2 year window, and then well, Bronny isn't developed enough, we're just gonna cut ties.
Mhm.
That's the part for me. Other than that, it's for any particular person, if you feel like you have the ability to go and try to make generational money. It's just the narrative that came along with it that has nothing to do with Bronny, because Bronny is not the one out here saying this stuff. So
Right.
and it so happened to be the public, the best player in the world that garners all the attention to happen to say it. So there you go.
Wow. But I want to point this out from a business perspective, Andy, Jamar. Isn't it kind of brilliant of LeBron? Because in a way,
it could probably have been his plan the whole time.
You say it's a part of his plan the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, it could. Sorry to cut you off. It could kind of possibly be his plan, just to, I guess, get the hype kind of around him. He's been performing well, I guess, all the combat and all the interviews and stuff like that. So I guess his stock is going up. So I guess it could have kind of been his plan the whole time, whether, he plays with him or not. Because I feel like Bronny don't want to play. I feel like Bronny don't want to play with him at all. I feel like Bronny just, he wants to be his own man, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
He kind of just want to get it out the mud. And I feel like if they have a discussion and it comes to a point where, LeBron's on his way out and it's a possibility they can play together, and I feel like if Bronny say, I won't be comfortable with that, I don't think he would do that. I don't think he would play with him. So I just feel like it could have possibly been just his plan the whole time, just to, fast track him and get him to the league. But, I don't see an issue with it. We see it beyond sports. We see it every day in our everyday lives. I know I've seen it in my own job personally.
Right.
So, you might, your boss might hire his son or daughter, and they might not know what the hell they talking about.
And he come in and he train them up.
And they train them up. So, I mean, we see it every day. So, from other races. So, at this point, yeah, you might not be ready. He might be ready. He might shock everybody. Who knows? We have to see when we get there. But, me personally, I don't have an issue with it. Whether it was LeBron, or whether, people say the same thing, for Deion and his sons. But me personally, I don't have an issue with it. Other people do it. Why is it a problem when our race does it?
Right. And this is so many layers, fellas. When we talk about just business, Jamar, we learn this in business. the stock market, fellas, it works based off of news. And if you give news to a potential investor in, guess what's going to happen to that person or that company? The stock price will be raised. And so, in a way, LeBron announcing this raises the stock price for Bronny James. Because then what will happen is Bronny will now get paid and have his own generational wealth. Not saying that he need it because LeBron's a billionaire, but it's a brilliant business move because then it gets the bag for Bronny too now. Bronny ain't got a bag daddy for money. Bronny can go do whatever he wants to with his bag now.
He don't have to do that now.
Right. And so,
go back to the NIL conversation
now. And due to that news being put out there now, everybody's like, oh, we got to invest into this kid, etc. And he's going to work out. He's doing media interviews. All that's part of the news. All that's a part of the purchase price. All that will go into the purchase price. And so it's beautiful to see, and it's a brilliant business move. And I love to see it, fellas, from a black man. And so that's a beautiful thing as well. It's a beautiful thing, and it's something that probably could be coming next year, fellas. What will Deion do? Want to put that out there. What will Deion do when Shedeur is ready to enter the NFL draft? Just a thought. And so Shedeur appeared to be a lot more talented. And Shedeur probably could go ahead, get into the NFL by himself. But, possibly his dad could help him.
Yep.
Because of the cloud he got. And so, yeah. Jamar, bro, any more thoughts on that, man?
No, I got nothing. You all had, really good input on this one.
Yeah. So with that being said, fellas, let us now progress with final thoughts and shout outs. And so, Jamar, bro, first, before we get into final thoughts and shout outs, we want to wish Jake a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Jake. We hope you get this, man. I'll make sure we post it on the page. Happy birthday, man, to our full-time special guests for events. So Jake will be our full-time guest, y'all, for events, for Super Bowl, NBA playoffs, things of that nature. And so we appreciate you, man. Happy birthday, bro. So, Jamar, bro, as we get into the weekend, any final thoughts and shout-outs?
Shout out to, I don't know, for me, I needed this holiday weekend. So, I would just say enjoy the good weather, enjoy your family time, enjoy basketball while we still got it, because the NBA is almost done, but I know we got, WNBA and the MLB, but nevertheless, just enjoy the moment while we got it.
Yep.
Yeah. And bro.
Yeah, shout out to Jake. Happy birthday to Jake. Seeing it was Tiana's birthday too. Happy birthday to Tiana.
Oh, that's right. It was a couple days ago.
Yeah, happy birthday to Tiana. Yeah, just enjoy this good weekend. Got some good weather today. Might rain tomorrow or Monday, but just enjoy good family time, holiday weekend. Be safe. Yeah, enjoy the end of NBA basketball, man. It's winding down, but good series. Some good series left, nevertheless. So try to enjoy that.
Definitely. And so, yes, enjoy Memorial Day weekend. Everybody throw some barbecue on that grill. Man, Jamar and Ian, take a nice steak burger for me on behalf. Man, that sounds good on the grill with some chicken. But man, y'all making me hungry than a mug. Cause y'all, we don't really get that over here. And so, enjoy the weekend, man. Stay safe, like Ian said. Stay safe. Happy birthday, Jake. And remember, y'all, when you keep God first, all things are possible. So we appreciate you all for rocking with us. It was a lot of great content, a lot of great conversation this morning. We have about good 5 faithful viewers with us this morning. So that was awesome to see. And so we appreciate all of you. And we hope you all have a blessed and safe weekend. Peace.